Welcome back to Corporate Time with Tom and Dan. I'm Tom.
I am Dan.
So we have a BDM in here.
I'm going to be serious for this segment now.
Okay.
No, I'm just letting you know.
Okay,
this is no
mood.
joke.
Okay.
This is no joke Thursday.
Okay, gotcha.
I'm going to be very serious about this because I want to learn this because it's the only class in the history of me being alive that I've ever failed.
Oh, really?
I've never failed.
Except
technically,
for the CPR.
I mean, I may not be good at something, but I'm talking failure. CPR failed.
See, and we talked about this a little while ago. I assume that's where Chris heard it and contacted us and said that he would teach us CPR if we wanted to, and that's where we're at right now. So Chris is in studio with us, and he brought some CPR.
He brought his dolls.
Dolls, dummies. What do you call them?
Dolls.
It's not PC to call them
I think
dummies.
They're called they're your little gay dolls, right?
Yeah, he brought his little gay dolls.
I think that's the technical term. I mean, all the guys at the station say, "Where's Chris and his little gay doll?" I've heard it.
So how you doing, Chris?
I'm good. How you doing?
Good. You move that mic a little closer.
Yeah, you're going to get about an inch off of it. Just pretend like you're staring into the eyes of one of your gay dolls.
Pretend the mic is the open mouth of your gay doll.
Yeah, and stare right into it. Yeah, you know, like you're putting something in there.
Why does anybody want to help us?
He's a good
I
man.
got an email back.
He's got a Tom and Dan shirt on.
On his
He's
day
a
off.
good guy. I know.
He's a hero.
You are a hero.
And
now I can't stop looking at your mouth.
And
My God, what's happening?
And he offered to give us free CPR training just out of the
First
kindness of his
he
heart.
gets here, I start bullying him. And I'm little, and he's a big dude.
I know,
he's a big dude.
He could beat you up for sure.
So his dolls could beat me up, Tom. His little gay dolls could.
These nerds are killing us.
I knew you would. Yeah. It's never stopped, right? Even when you're the smaller bully, even if the victims have overpowered you or killing you, never surrender. Bully till death.
Yeah, like, don't kill me, nerd.
Yeah, exactly.
So, all right, sorry, Chris. So, did you hear us talking about CPR and not knowing?
Yeah, specifically from the Daytona 500, we're talking about Ryan Newman with his accident
and
whatnot. Yeah.
Is he not a testament to technology, to medicine, to what you guys do, first responders? The fact that he, walked out of the hospital holding the hands of his daughters, and the fact that he went and he saw his race team, and he's like, I want to get in the car as quickly as humanly possible. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, well, that's more of a testament to the engineering of the car nowadays and the safety. And
that's technology, man. That is just science.
They changed the walls after Dale Earnhardt died, and they
tread lightly on this side.
Well, they put some sort of give in them, right? So you wouldn't stop immediately, and that and the roll cage and the Hans device and all this stuff. Right. That's what, I mean, I don't even know what his injuries were, but obviously not that serious at all because he walked out the next day.
They actually said he did sustain a head injury, but they won't go into it.
Right, yeah, usually they won't release that kind of information.
He probably had a concussion. I've got dozens of those. Not that big of a deal. Right. I literally kept doing whatever I'm doing.
Sam, you ever had a concussion?
Probably.
When you
haven't been diagnosed yet.
I bet you did concuss yourself.
At least that time. I'm sure there's been other times.
That's probably one of the worst feelings, without a doubt, because you don't really understand it or know what's going on. Yeah, it's terrible.
The worst is the week after you start having deja vu about normal experience. Like your brain is screwed up. Anyway, so CPR. So let's talk about CPR. So they've changed some of the rules in the past years about CPR, correct? Is it still the same? How does it work?
So for the basic for the public, their big focus now is doing hands-only CPR. So the whole given mouth-to-mouth is not really a big focus for most citizens.
Okay.
The compressions is kind of the main focus. That's what's really going to make a difference. Why couldn't have been?
They should have. I would have gone the other way. If I'm the Attorney General, I'm like, more mouth, less hands.
Well, then you ruin all those sweet 80s and 90s movies where the young teen, pretends to drown so that the
hot lifeguard,
the Sandlot, So then the hot lifeguard gives them mouth to mouth. Although what they left out is she would be chest compressing, breaking his ribs before the mouth to mouth.
Well, they also left out that I went swimming in multiple springs, multiple public pools, multiple YMCA's. Never had a girl lifeguard ever. It was all dudes.
Yeah.
All guys.
And I assume...
Not that it matters. I mean... I guess if you're a younger gay gentleman, you could make that happen.
I assume that all lifeguards, like they had been trained at the beginning of their job, like when CPR, but never had to use it. And then when it was time to use it, they'd freak out and be like not know how to do it right, or just be like, I forgot. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't trust my teen lifeguards to know how to do CPR properly.
I don't trust myself. Here's the weird spot that I'm in, and I'll be serious for a second. Like, even though I did fail, I think most of us, and that's true, but I think most of us have a decent idea of what you're supposed to do with CPR. I even remember in taking health class, even at the time, it was like if somebody's choking, they did it like Heimlich and CPR and choking all in sort of the same class, and it was like hook the airway, you know, all that.
Changed.
But I remember all of that stuff, you know,
right.
so I think I have a decent idea of at least what I would do, but I don't trust myself to do it, especially on my daughter, without like hurting her, like you said. That concerns me. I'd almost be helpless standing around looking at people like, please, you know, like somebody help, you know, and I don't want to be that guy.
I'd start destroying my house, you know. I told you.
Just in a fit of rage.
Yeah. You know,
not helping at all.
So, Chris, let's go over some of the basics. Then you're going to teach me and Daniel how to do this, correct? And you brought a baby. What are the, we call them dummies.
Can I hold your doll, your baby doll?
Most definitely.
So what are they called in the firefighter paramedic world?
Oh, man, he's...
It's basic term mannequins.
Training tools. Okay, mannequins. Look very scary.
Come here, guy. Come here, baby.
Hard to have a baby mannequin not look crazy and
Especially
scary.
when its mouth is just wide open.
I was wondering, like, if you just put a little wig on it, it would be
do we
less
have any
off-putting.
Butler, bring me a wig or a hat from our costume from Tom's improv trunk.
Here's the thing: you can make it hard, like you can make it where it's cast into the actual baby doll itself, where, like, you know, and then less off-putting with it's bald. So okay, let's start from the beginning, Chris. So what do you train? Do you train people to do CPR?
For about 2 years now, I've been a CPR trainer for my fire department I work at.
And how long does the normal CPR training take?
Typically, about 3 to 4 hours.
Okay.
Maybe. And it's a bunch of videos that people watch. It's the CPR, learning how to use an AED, and especially with a choke and Heimlich maneuver and stuff like that.
Do I have to watch? Like, but you could teach us how to do it right now.
And
we're
that's
just as good, right?
And that's kind of where we're focused on, is that hands-only CPR, just doing the compressions, because that's what, again, that's going to make the biggest difference, is starting those compressions as soon as possible. Because even not doing the mouth-to-mouth, you still have oxygen in your bloodstream. So if you can circulate that,
That
you
makes
keep
sense.
the brain alive for a few more minutes.
Totally makes sense.
So that's where them getting rid of the mouth-to-mouth came from.
Yeah, it's still there. It's just at this point we're trying to get everybody to know how to do the very basics, and doing compressions is really good.
Also, right now, I mean, we're at a time where human contact is kind of limited and people are kind of freaked out.
Right.
So it should make everybody feel pretty good to know that you can give chest compressions on somebody who might be having an episode without necessarily putting your mouth on theirs. You know, I mean, that shouldn't stop you from being a decent and good human being, right?
Although if that's going to, like, you know, if someone was dying, I could save their life by putting my mouth on their mouth, but I'll put my mouth on anything.
But you're a good person. There are plenty of people I know.
Well, you also can't say that you're not a good person. Maybe you're germaphobe or something, you know? Like,
yeah, but if
Also,
you're
I heard
not
they-
willing to look past your germophobia to save a person that's
that
dying.
can be chronic for some people.
My buddy
Well,
told
I
me
mean,
too.
I'm
like,
going to get on a plane if it's going to save your life. I'll just let you know that.
You do sometimes you
but
blow.
what if it's a stranger?
You blow
I'd
air.
save anybody. I'd get on any plane to save anybody's life.
What if it's someone you hate?
I'd let them die.
Ah,
You
got him.
You did. You win.
Isn't it too like sometimes you blow air into like a human and then they could throw up in your mouth and do like all these gross
I mean,
things.
it's
Seen
possible.
those
Exactly,
videos.
and that's why they kind of go away from the mouth-to-mouth, unless you have like a barrier device or a mask to use.
yeah.
If you don't have that, they
The
kind of
masks
lean
are
away
pretty
from that.
cool, and I've seen the videos they're talking about. Baroness Vicky.
I don't know what you're talking about, sir.
Yeah, yeah.
Good day. So, all right. So, where do we start, and what do you train your students to do first? Is it the old "you call 911"?
Yeah, you still have to call 911. And the biggest thing is making sure the scene is safe. So if there's, like, we use a common thing, a power line on the ground or something.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you don't want yourself to be also injured or, you know, harmed or whatever.
All right,
So-
learned that from G.I. Joe Roadblock.
Who wants a body massage?
Yeah, everybody's seen that. Hold on.
Hey, who wants a body massage? Mr. Body Massage.
There's their little roadblock for it.
Look that up.
Yeah, that's good.
The funniest thing.
Type in what is it? G.I. Joe.
It's like bad lip reading.
Yeah, no, it's G.I. Joe and knowing's half the battle. Just Google that. And the best, though, is Snow Job.
yeah, oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's good.
So, okay, once you tell people to... Now,
Call 911. Is the area clear?
Does the person have to be not breathing to do CPR? Like, what is the person's state? Because if they're just unconscious, then you don't need to do CPR if they're breathing still, right?
So what you can do is check for a pulse on their carotid, right next to the neck, on either side. And we usually teach most of our students to check for at least 10 seconds. After 10 seconds, if you don't feel anything, you want to start that CPR immediately.
Now, that's gonna be hard, because if you don't feel anything after 10 seconds, I'm assuming that at that point you need.
They're already a ghost.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, they're ghosts here! I'm scared.
And then run. You gotta
When
run.
do they turn into a ghost?
Yeah.
Because
how quickly will how quickly can you watch a soul rise out of a body, and how quickly can that said soul become vengeant?
Because technically,
That'd be
after
an
10
unsafe scene
seconds,
at that point,
Oh yeah, it is an unsafe. There's ghosts here. Everybody back. There's ghosts. This man has just died.
if the CPR works, will we see the ghost come back? And they're like, no,
I was better back here.
I was in paradise. I'm sorry.
I was able to hug my grandmother one more time, and you pulled me away from it. Now I'll haunt you forever.
You know, I blame you, Chris. You knew what you were going to get
You
to.
were. Yeah.
It's not our fault
That's
at all.
our new billboard. Write that down. You knew what you were going to get to. That's what it should say.
Sign out front.
You knew.
So if they're breathing, obviously don't do CPR.
So if they're breathing regularly, then no, don't do CPR. Now, someone who's in cardiac arrest who needs CPR could have what we call agonal respirations, where they're just kind of gasping for air.
Okay.
But it's not regular. It's very slow. It's definitely not regular
And
breathing.
the fact that you start compressions could actually maybe mellow them out, for lack of a more
get their
medical
heart
term.
Potentially. It's more just getting that blood circulating, getting that oxygen circulating, so there's oxygen in the brain. Because
Right.
after about 6-7 minutes, that brain starts dying off.
Right.
And that's the biggest thing.
And that's the problem I've heard from like my buddy who's a paramedic. When it comes to CPR, and a lot of times if they're not there, if someone's heart stopped beating and the oxygen stopped going to their brain, that lack of oxygen in the brain will usually, even for a small period of time, basically you're never going to be the same, or you're never going to wake up.
Right.
And then maybe you could live.
And it's not
but
a
you'll be
good thing
brain
when he
dead.
says never be the same. It's not like never be the same because I grew wings and I can fly.
Yeah.
Pretty awesome. It's not like that.
Yeah. It's really
the opposite of
You
that.
could be disabled.
Yeah.
And that's
That always happened to my grandmother at the McDonald's when she lost oxygen. The guy performed an emergency tracheotomy. They got enough oxygen, but she'd already been without oxygen, Chris is saying, for the 6 minutes or so. So she was already brain dead. So I mean, it happens, folks.
Yeah. And so that's what you're trying to stop, is just getting oxygen to the brain until the paramedics show up, so that person is not disabled their whole life or not brain dead, because that's the most important. Your brain it needs to work 100%, or it's not going to be good.
Remember that.
So after you establish if the person needs CPR, what's the next step?
So either having someone call 911 or call 911 yourself, and we teach people to use speakerphone on your cell phone. Everyone usually has their cell phones with them, so dial it up quickly, and then you can start compressions and still talk to that dispatcher or call taker, whoever.
Good call.
The phone.
Okay, and because they can walk you through certain things too,
they're trained. They take a little bit different type of CPR class, but they're trained to walk people through how to do compressions.
Yeah, so I wouldn't. They're experts in knowing how to. It's like air traffic controllers. I don't think they typically do this, but they will be able to kind of get you through what you need to do.
So all right, are we gonna start off on the adult?
Yeah, we'll start on adult.
You want to start? Yeah, I'll go.
Yeah, because I got a cold, so
All right,
I have
I'll
to go
switch
last.
over. I'm gonna go to yellow mic now.
Okay,
So I'm gonna
yeah.
kill mine there. I'm gonna put that on, and then okay, that should work. Let's see if that
All right.
works.
So Daniel's going over to the couch right now, and Chris is going to show him.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, you're
okay.
good.
All right.
All right, so the person's on the ground. Oh my God, I see his ghost. Too late.
Okay, now do you have any non-white dummies? Because I'm not real big on.
They do offer the options when we buy them.
I would rather have
They
a brown
do?
dummy. If you know.
Like you get any shade you want.
There's like 3 or 4 different shades.
Can you
yeah.
get like wacky
Yeah, yeah.
blue or pink or something like abnormal?
Do you want me to put the camera on you or?
Oh, I thought I did. Yeah, it should change here
Oh,
in
okay.
just a second. Yeah, I changed it. There we go.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
Oh, it's my butt.
There it is.
Great. Okay.
All right, so
You gotta blow in his butt,
Put
Tom.
him right here.
okay, so now what's first, Chris?
So after you made sure the scene is safe, if you want to check for a pulse.
Oh, you want to get right on there? Yeah, sorry. This
That's
is gonna
fine.
be difficult.
So if you want to check for a pulse,
Okay.
on either side of the neck, usually on the same side is better.
Okay. And
So-
is it the same 2 fingers?
2 fingers down. Like
Will you
that.
be able to feel it? Now, where on your neck is your
So right,
carotid?
you can actually
Oh my
feel
God,
your
I
own
can feel it.
sometimes. Yeah, if you feel one, that's not good.
Yeah, this guy's
It's alive!
Oh my God, this guy's stomping, man. It's almost like he was on a Peloton.
So
Okay.
after that 10 seconds, if you don't feel it, have someone call 911 or yourself call it.
Samantha, call 911.
I'm on it.
So you take either hand, put it in
Okay.
the center of your chest right here.
All right.
right
Okay.
palm,
Now,
center of
where
your
the
chest right
center is the sternum?
here. Yeah, right at the sternum or easy between the nipple line too.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that's a way to tell
Yeah,
between the
it's an
nipple
easier
lines.
landmark. Yes.
Now,
Yes,
if it's
it
a
is.
female victim, do I,
Well, you're gonna want
Do
to
I
cut.
pull 'em
you're
out
gonna-
to
No.
Yeah, you're definitely gonna.
I mean,
wanna,
I'm saving her
So-
life.
You're gonna want to cut their bra off with a big Rambo knife, and then stand over the yelling obscenities.
my buddy, he said always do EKG.
Yeah, always.
yeah.
So we typically try to take the bra off if we can, but we try to keep
Yeah,
you covered up though too.
Okay.
Oh, you
All
do
right.
take the bra.
Yeah,
off.
you take the bra off
Okay.
and you put 2 yellow Wendy's napkins.
Always carry.
You wet 2 Wendy's napkins with I
Oh, yeah,
believe Pib Extra.
'cause they'll blow
you
up.
You stick
Now,
the
what
yellow.
happens if you leave the bra on?
So if you're just doing compressions,
Well, your boobs get explode. You want that to happen? You think this is fun and games? Hard.
I'm just trying to
We're trying to save
determine-
lives here.
We're trying to be
and you're
serious
trying
here.
to be a Me Too.
Yeah, we're trying to be serious
protester.
here. And you're too. Excuse me. You're too woke AF to save some lives.
Yeah.
So with the bra, if we have an AED that gets brought in, which will
He's got an
shock
AED.
them, with the possible having like underwire, if we have to shock
Oh,
them,
okay.
we don't want to
gotcha.
have that on them. So,
But if
that'd
I'm
be an
just
issue.
doing chest compression,
You could
Yeah.
keep it on if you want to, if you feel safer.
I'm a
or not.
fan of
Sam's
those.
got AEW. We got
Keep a
Chris.
note.
Hey, we broke his professionality. You got him. I know firefighters. They're not all professionals.
out with a lot of them.
professionality.
Yeah. I'm sure Shorty and Trey really appreciated that.
So
Oh,
is
they
everything.
know.
But-
All right, so 10 seconds, didn't feel a pulse.
Right.
Center of
So,
the chest,
Palm right there.
palm right
Okay.
there.
Palm
Your
in the
other hand
center.
and interlock it just like that.
Okay, other hand.
Now, Chris.
interlocked.
And then
Okay.
come closer to him,
Okay.
Okay.
and then lock in your elbows.
All
There
right.
you go,
So
go, push down.
Daniel's locking his elbows. All right.
There
Now
you
he's
go. Push
doing
down till you feel a
compressions.
click. There you go. If
many
you see
times?
this,
All right.
keep going. Let's go.
Okay.
And if you go a little bit quicker, you'll see that once you have 2 green lights, you're going deep enough and fast.
Don't you
enough.
go to
How
the
quick
beat of
is he
Staying
going?
Alive, right?
So yeah, "Staying Alive" is a good song to kind of hum in your head, or the Imperial March from like Star Wars.
No okay.
Sleep too.
That's a good one.
Another one we might hum is "Another One Bites the
My
Dust."
name
But
is Ken. Bowing about the bang, the bang,
Yeah, they do that.
All right,
Can
now
I-
I'm changing it to Bow to Bob. Bow to Bob.
That actually works
Yeah,
pretty
it
good.
does.
yeah,
Now, was
so
I doing okay?
You were doing good. You had 2 green lights. We want to compress.
Oh,
it
it's
about
red now. He's dead.
Well, you
Oh,
no,
Dad, you killed him.
Oh my God.
So
You
we
should have used
actually-
Yin Yang Twins. Wait till you see my D whisper song.
we actually want to compress at 100 to 120 beats per minute.
Okay.
Compressions per minute. Yeah.
Well, that's like
That's kind of our range. It used to be 100. Now we're up to 100.
No,
Oh,
going
the
fast.
So see, the flashing yellow now.
That's called Big Tim ties his shoes.
Oh man.
Oh, poor Chris. All right, Sam's up next.
Okay, so
Or Tom. You can go.
yeah, okay,
Go ahead,
I'll go.
Tom.
All right. So now let me ask you some like maybe misconceptions. Is it true that you could break the person's ribs?
Oh, yes, I've
and,
heard
and
this.
if you do this, does that mean you did it wrong, or does that mean that just the person's ribs are
So-
weak?
Technically, you're not breaking the ribs. You're actually breaking the cartilage in the ribs, and that will reform after. If you do get them back, it'll grow itself back. So you will feel a cracking sensation. It's very, I'll say, creepy feeling. But it is a good sign that you felt that. You'll only feel it for the first couple compressions.
And that is just the cartilage that probably
the rib.
holds the ribs
With
together.
the rib cage and whatnot, and that's what's protecting that heart. But you're wanting to break through that so you can give
Smush
that compression.
It. Smush the heart.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. So you are breaking the cartilage, but it's not a serious thing.
No. It's typically normal. We do it all.
Yeah,
the time.
Do you want to do the baby?
Even if it was the yeah. Let me
Yeah, do the baby. You're the one with 2 kids. I mean, I got one, so not a big deal.
Yeah, 2. It's like chances are.
Yeah.
One of them's going down.
Oh my God.
And going back to what
He's
Daniel
a
did,
terrible person.
is that it? Is that in?
So
with
for
the
hands-on
CPR?
CPR, that's it. Just doing those
Now,
compressions.
the only
Keep going.
question I have from that, because that doesn't feel too unfamiliar or weird, the only question I would have is how long would I perform that?
So for hands-on CPR, you want to just keep going. Now,
Until the cops show up
until
and
cops
then
or
switch
medics.
out with people if I
yeah,
get tired
if someone
or
else is
whatever?
there that can help out, switch
Gotcha.
out
Okay,
once you're
good to
getting
know.
tired. If we were incorporating breaths, we actually use a ratio of 30 compressions to 2 breaths. But again, doing the very basic compressions will make a big difference.
Okay,
on
I
its
felt
own.
pretty comfortable with that. That does make me
keeping
feel
it
better.
keeping it simple.
Yeah.
Just doing those compressions.
And before I practice on the baby, is like what are the chances?
Said
like,
the tattoo artist.
are you giving the person an exponentially better chance of survival by receiving CPR like as soon after whatever's going wrong?
Very much so. Yes.
Yes.
Then what's really important after that is if there's an AED nearby, and where I work at in Volusia County, when you call 911, they actually know of certain public AEDs are nearby, like at churches or like at a Publix. They'll tell you where they're at if it's registered.
And that's a shock.
Yeah, that will deliver a shock. It doesn't. So if you ever seen on like the medical shows the typical flatline shock? It actually doesn't. We don't usually shock that rhythm. That's called asystole. We actually are shocking 2 other rhythms that are lethal to the heart. And by that shock, it's actually stopping the heart to let the heart reset itself.
Oh, it's like unplugging and plugging it back in.
Pretty
Yeah.
much.
So
yeah.
so the flat line you wouldn't actually shock.
We
someone?
actually don't shock that now.
Really?
Because the heart's not doing anything. We're actually the purpose of the shock is to depolarize the heart to get it out of the lethal rhythm.
during
to
like
let
heart
it
attacks
restart.
or like some
Somewhat, yes.
arrhythmia or whatever.
Now, see, he's
Potentially.
dipping into a lot of the stuff that my mom talks about because she does have AFib. She has like IHSS, sudden death syndrome, and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's some pretty crazy science when you get into like total cardiac type stuff.
Yeah.
That's extremely interesting because it's almost like we've been tricked into thinking that
Right, with the TV shows.
yeah,
and
with TV
whatnot.
shows that
So
you would
with-
shock a flat line.
With flatline, is that just
You just
done?
keep doing CPR. No, they're not necessarily
Oh.
done. It depends on what their underlying issue is, and that's kind of what we're once the medics get there are treating, trying to figure out what the problem is.
huh.
So we have an algorithm that we go through and looking at
That's
different things.
super interesting, dude.
Gotcha. So essentially, just the chest compressions is what basically everybody should know.
At the very basics, you can definitely save someone's life by at least doing those compressions as soon as possible.
And if the old school breathing, like how many compressions per breath do they?
30 to 2.
32 is
Okay.
your typical ratio that you'll get taught.
See, I'm really paying attention over here. I want to save my child.
Is
Yeah.
it worth even doing the breath at this
So
point?
if you have, we call it a barrier device or a mask you could utilize, you can give those breaths. But again, just by doing those compressions and focusing on that, and then honestly the second thing, finding an AED or having someone find one nearby can make a big difference to this person.
And then the shot, like I know at like our gym that used
Michael
to go
has
there,
one, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's one there, and there's like one at Publix and
Yeah,
stuff. Can
yeah.
anybody just use that? Is there instructions on it?
So when you actually pull out of the box, it talks to you. It walks you through every step. And the number one step we tell people in our classes is the first thing you want to do is turn it on. And after that, it'll walk you through everything else.
This
It'll
is
tell you how to
Morgan
put the pads
Freeman.
on. It depends what brand you buy.
Yeah,
but
I wonder what voice is.
Do you have to yell clear so no one else gets shocked?
yes, that's very important. And it'll tell you that usually on the AED because you can't harm somebody if someone's touching the patient, they shock them.
Would it be like a taser, or would it be like
Nah,
a
it's a
stop
lot
your heart?
worse. So typically they shock at 360 joules. And I'm not sure what that relates to a taser, but it's a lot, and it can definitely harm somebody.
That's a lot of joules.
Yeah, it is.
360.
I wish I had
vape joules.
360 joules.
Yeah.
Spearmint flavor, please.
All right,
Thanks a lot, Trump.
So let's.
Banning all the good flavors.
So now with a baby, how different is it?
Again, just doing
You're going to
that
have
compression.
smaller hands.
No.
So you're going to put on the tiny hands.
Change out the hands. No, so for a baby, we typically just use 2 fingers around that same area for the chest.
Okay, let me go.
That's traditionally what I used through high school, too.
So, all right, I got the baby.
Wait, you don't put it? Oh, I guess you could put it in your lap.
So it's best to have it on a flat surface, like a hard flat surface.
Okay, so
if possible, or the floor, like a table.
So if I put the baby
Put it
on the floor,
table.
I'm gonna put the baby on the floor. Here we go.
Alright.
So I got baby on the floor, right? And the baby needs now choking. Obviously, this is not the time. But that's a Heimlich.
Right. So if it's a choking situation, once the baby comes unresponsive, we're gonna give that CPR.
Quick, pour some White Claw in its mouth.
So and the Heimlich with a baby, is it like a adult Heimlich?
No, it's a lot different. And if you want, I'll show you that after we do the compressions
all right.
with them.
Do what
So-
you're told to do, Tom.
asking so many
CPR, not
questions.
I'm
Heimlich.
ADD. I like to just
He's
skip.
like a million different things. No.
In my mind, I've already known how to do the compressions. I'm now on to something else. All
well,
right.
do you go
Should I
full
shred the
hand
certs now, or?
on the baby chest?
All right, here we go.
All right,
So yeah, two fingers.
two fingers in the middle,
Yep.
between the nipples.
Yes, sir.
Now middle index.
Yep.
Those are my powerful.
Yep.
They call them my power fingers.
Yeah.
so
Well, I know you're a man.
and then I
Press down. And you'll feel that clicking sensation. That means
Okay.
you're going deep enough. So you want to go a little bit quicker. Once you see those two
Okay.
green lights
Do
pop
what's a ball,
up.
what's a ball.
okay
keep
ball
going,
with the
yeah.
ball, the bang, biggie,
Little bit
biggie said the
quicker. There you
boogie said
go.
up jump the
Best thing
boogie.
Kid Rock ever did. Seriously, it works. I'm telling you, it works.
Okay.
Or maybe I'm just really good at tying douche songs to saving people's lives.
Okay.
So a little bit quicker on them.
All right. So if I'm green, I'm doing the right amount.
Do you want to actually have?
Don't do Bob with a Bob recorded. Do Bob with a
your
Bob
green
live.
lights.
It's
a little bit
faster.
quicker. Oh,
There
there
you go.
Oh, okay. I see.
Yeah,
Oh,
you're
so
saving
like
him.
3.
You're saving. Oh, his diaper turned red.
Okay, there it is. All
Oh,
right,
it's
so
spewing blood out of its eyes.
It's pretty fast. Okay.
Yes. And it's the same rate for an adult. There's no difference on that.
Okay. So this is it.
Somebody
it.
say, hey, we want some.
Okay. And is this actually?
You saved him.
Is
Yellow
that-
means warning.
All right.
Yeah, it's like he's okay.
So is that gonna be close to the amount of pushback, or is this atomically somewhat accurate to what I'd
Like,
feel?
is that
on a
how
person?
hard you'd have to push
Yeah, yeah,
on
yeah.
an actual
For a
human?
normal sized person, yes. When you get into bigger people, it can be a little more difficult. But for a normal sized person, it's pretty accurate.
Do you guys have
Okay.
any big, ginormous, big fat slob dummies?
Not yet. We should probably invest in some.
Yeah.
Because I'd like to buy one of those just to sit on the couch and dress up in different outfits.
Yeah, because I imagine if you are giving CPR to like a Big Tim, I mean, you're gonna have to
You're pressing hard.
put
dude.
some,
I'm gonna jump
muscle
up and
to-
down on his chest.
yeah.
Right?
You're gonna have
Just jump
to.
on it.
Yeah, it's like a Jungle Book scenario. I feel like
So that's it. So that
we're heroes now.
as long as you keep the compression rate at that level, at that speed, 120 beats a minute, then that's all you need to know, right?
That's basic hands only CPR.
So what about the Heimlich? Because that's what I've always been worried about. Daniel said the same thing.
Yeah.
Like I
What'd you
freaked
score
out.
on the Heimlich? You got like the lowest score out of all of us, right?
Oh yeah. I was down near Frank Gore. The Heimlich.
And I was just above that. All right, Tom's getting back into his main chair. All right, there we go.
Because I'm literally I still like I
Did a gun just fall out of your pants?
I don't know what that was.
I brought my CPR gun.
No.
That's for
Yeah.
you know, if I'm not successful, I'm like we gotta
Yeah.
before he turns because I assume everything.
You got to put one.
You get an air bazooka and poof, right in their mouth.
Yeah. All right,
So Heimlich.
because we're running out of time.
Yeah. What do we got?
All right, so real quick for Heimlich, if the baby's responsive and you can see it's choking, it's going to be kind of traumatizing here in a second. So you want to make sure you support the head, use your leg,
Okay.
and you want to give 5 back blows.
Okay.
And then you rotate the baby over. In the same spot where you did the chest compressions, do 5 of those as well. And keep rotating back and forth.
So why are you doing chest compressions during a choking scenario? Because they
Trying to
stop
get that-
breathing?
Well, not necessarily they stop breathing, they just can't breathe. So you're trying to get that object up. And while you're doing that, you want to have the baby's head kind of pointed down, kind of utilizing gravity. That makes sense?
Yeah, so put the baby over your knee,
Right.
open its airway,
Right.
and then
Head
pound.
slightly
Five
down.
5 back blows and then 5 chest thrusts.
How hard?
Yeah, how hard we hitting this thing?
It's gonna seem traumatizing, but it's gonna make a big difference.
Of course, yeah, because you want to dislodge the thing. And
You
you're
gotta,
trying
like-
to save the
Right.
baby's life. So
I mean, think
Right.
Kimbo Slice, backyard bum fight punch.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, really go at it.
Because I mean, if you're trying to save your baby's life or a
Right.
baby, who cares how if they're bruised sure that you injure
Right.
them as you're saving their lives.
You're trying to get the object out.
And then for an adult Heimlich, is it the under
Right at the belly button usually. Yeah.
the belly button,
Yeah.
and then it's the pull up,
Correct.
very violently up.
Oh,
and
so
then,
you
Right.
go all the way down to the belly button?
Yes. You kind of pull up like as a thrust.
Like
almost
I
going up.
I usually anchor my fingers in the person's genitals area.
Groin area?
Yeah, and I really pull them into me.
Oh, yeah,
I call it the ghost ditto.
So, and I guess my final question is, have you ever done CPR on someone that was definitely going to die and then brought them back and they're normal after? Because I know I've talked to my buddy who's a paramedic and he teaches this stuff, and he's like, man, it's rare. I've done it before and the person's been 100% normal, but most of the time they suffer from some sort of oxygen loss to the brain and have to like rehabilitate for a while, and then sometimes it's even worse. But have you seen
Ending
it
on a
yourself?
high note.
Yeah, well, I'm just
So,
wondering
and
reality.
I would agree with him. It's very rare to have someone have a full save where we look at it as them walking out of the hospital with no issues. And that's why we push that hand-only CPR pretty hard. Is by starting that early as possible can make a big difference. I would say it's probably like a 1 or 2% out of 100 usually.
Yeah, but
but if you
that's better
don't
than
do
0%.
it, that's 0.
Yeah.
Because that's the case.
Correct.
So, like, if no one does it, then they don't have any chance whatsoever.
Right, because I think when someone calls 911, it takes about a minute or two for the whole dispatch process, and average response times are 3 to 4 minutes for most big departments. So it takes a little bit of time for us to get there, even going lights and sirens and whatnot. So by starting those compressions as fast as possible can make a big difference.
Yeah, and it's not hard to do.
No,
like,
it's not.
No.
So with a small amount of education, you could basically, once you know how to do it, you got it for life, and
Right.
then and if all of society knew how to do it, because I'm sure there's plenty of times. I mean, we even talked to someone on our last Friday Free Show that saw a BDM go into a lake, and then all people did is
Right.
film with their phone. Like,
Yeah.
but if all society would help each other out, give us a better chance.
Yeah.
So thanks, Chris.
Hey man, thanks so much for
Most
for
definitely.
coming in, and thanks to your department for
Yes.
letting you bring in some,
Yeah, they're
some
very
gear.
supportive.
If
Yeah,
someone
that was
wants
awesome.
to take a CPR class, it's easy. Like they give them away for free, right?
Some free. The hands-only CPR is definitely free across the nation. The easiest thing to do is get in touch with your local fire department or hospital. Usually they offer classes multiple times a month.
Okay, cool.
For different prices and stuff.
That's
Awesome. Well, I appreciate it, Chris.
Yeah,
Thanks
most
for being a
definitely.
good sport. Sorry, we're joking around with you so
Yeah,
much.
we're babies.
It's
You guys should have done the
nature.
CPR on me, and I dressed like a baby.
Like, ow, too many beats.
Uh-oh, broke his cartilage.
That's fine.
Throw him in the bathroom. All right, guys, thanks so much for listening. We appreciate it, and we will see you tomorrow.